Just a quick one today. I was down in West Cork recently and met up with my good friend Jason Williamson. He's about to set off on a massive 4,000 kilometre run across Australia. So before we went for a run together, I set up the camera and asked him all the hows and whys of what he's about to undertake. So what followed was a pretty raw and honest conversation. I hope you enjoy it.
The whole concept of doing big adventures has always been there with me. I used to do a bit of mountain climbing, and I've obviously done ultra marathons, and I've done a lot of long distance running. And so 2 years ago, I ran the Island Way. And at the time, I thought that was going to be the biggest thing that I would ever do. And when I got to the end, I said, that's it, there's no more. Now that Australia is happening, and I look back at that and I kind of have a different lens or a different perspective on how to look at things, maybe the Island Way was a little bit of a warm-up for what I plan on doing in Australia. There's something really deeply attracting me to going back to Australia and just immersing myself in the landscape of Australia for those many weeks and not just traversing the whole country. And it's all like I grew up there, and I had my formative teenage years and young 20s there, and then I left Australia and I haven't lived there ever since then. And so going back now at this point in my life, I think there's almost like a full circle, a closing of the story of going back there and going back to do something big there, big personally. If you go to Google Maps and put in Perth, Sydney, and put in driving, not walking, but put in driving, it follows the main road. And that's essentially what we'll be doing. Once you're about 200 or 300 kilometres out of Perth, there's a 300 kilometre dirt road section, which saves you 100 kilometres. If you go on the main highway, it's 100 kilometres longer. So, and it's kind of weather dependent. So we're planning for that route, because we'd like to do the dirt road section for 3 or 4 days will be an adventure. Aside from that, it's all on the side of the main road. I think it gets down to 0 there overnight. And then once the sun is up, we're talking like late 20s, maybe early 30s. Yeah, it's generally not scorching hot like most people might imagine, like 40 degrees, sweltering, Death Valley type heat. It's not that. I've kind of publicly said I want to do 2 marathons a day. When I ran the Island Way, I kind of hit round about 100 kilometres a day, but that was over hills and terrain and trail, and it was kind of challenging running at times. Probably waking up about 4 a.m. and then on the road at 5 and just seeing where we go from there. We'll have 2 camper vans. So the plan is to kind of like stop every 9 to 11 kilometres every hour or so. And so I'll be carrying very little with me when I'm actually running, maybe just a handheld water bottle or something, or maybe something in my belt. And then every hour just stopping, drinking, eating, maybe sitting down. I'd like to start off doing the first half of the day on the go, and then maybe slow down on the second half. Port Macquarie. That's about 300 kilometres north of Sydney. So as we hit New South Wales, instead of heading into Sydney, we'll just kind of take a slightly northern route, which will put us into Port Macquarie. Real food as much as possible. Real food. One of the challenges in planning this too is we've got about like 2 weeks across the Nullarbor of really remote, limited access to shops and groceries and things. Yeah, access to fresh food is going to be a challenge for some of it. I ended up quite sick halfway through the Island Way, and it's very hard to kind of unravel that. We've spent a lot of time thinking about that in the last couple of years, what went wrong, and I think there's a combination of errors there, perhaps a little bit too much sports nutrition. But I think ultimately what I did was I put myself under too much pressure. So I didn't find time to just kind of let the steam off and just enjoy it. So this time around, Dave actually asked me a couple of months ago, what are the things that I want to get out of this run? And the first thing that I wrote down at the very top of the list was, I want everyone to have fun. I want to enjoy it, and I want to look back and say that was really tough, but there was an enjoyment factor to it. The one thing that is kind of the big unknown is mechanical breakdowns of the body. At some point, something is going to give. And that's a given, you know, that's just, it's not like you're going to run 4,000K and just kind of go, that was cool, I got a sore toe. We've got a few people who are with me the whole way, and we've got people swapping in and out as well. So Dave Keane, who is my kind of crew chief or crew director, he's running everything in the background. He's taking care of the shopping list, the logistics, the crew swaps, the camper van rentals, all the nitty gritty stuff that can be really energy sapping when you're trying to train for these things. So we've got Kiro, who's a filmmaker from Argentina. He's going to be with me the whole time. Got a physiotherapist from the UK. She's joining us for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then she's swapping out with another physiotherapist, another French physiotherapist who's coming in to finish to the end. So the whole trip I'm going to have a physiotherapist on board, which is awesome. And then we've got different people coming in to help out. There's records and there's FKTs out there, and I'm aware of what they are. I'm not going to stand up beforehand and say that it's my intention to beat those records, but I do know what they are, but I'd rather let my running doing the talking once I'm out there. We'll see how it goes. The diversion to Port Macquarie will happen in the last 1,000 kilometres. So by the time we get to that point, I'll have an idea of where I am in regards to any record that might be up for grabs. So it would be just a matter of turning right instead of left, 1,000 kilometres out. I'm going into it to run my 2 marathons a day for my 50th birthday. But I'm also aware that once I'm out there, if everything clicks, then maybe I'll do better.
All right. Well, Jason, very best of luck to you, buddy. I'll be watching.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks.
All right, let's go for a run. So there you have it. Jason starts his epic journey in Perth on the 7th of August. I'll certainly be following his journey along closely. If you want to do the same, I'll put the details in the description below. But that's it for now. So until next time, over and out.